Hey, hello, Tim.
Hello, Willem.
Oh, how do you like your chicken, Tim?
Crispy.
Crispy. If you have not seen that meme, folks, go up on Google and look up the crispy meme, and you will not be disappointed. Oh, but anyway, welcome to Hear Me Out Pitch. For anyone who's coming with us the first few times, stop right now. Go to the beginning, because this is and go to the last episode, because this is part 2. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. But come back, because we'll miss you, and we love you. But I'm Willem.
I'm Tim.
And yeah, this is our podcast. I know we probably don't introduce ourselves enough, and honestly, there's only like 30 of you listening right now, but that's okay. We still appreciate it. We really do. We just hit 100 downloads like last night, and you know what? That's pretty good for doing this a month. That makes me happy. So,
and thank you all for listening, taking time out of your day to actually listen to a couple of nerds be a little bit weird about some movies.
Oh my gosh.
That we didn't necessarily like or that we wanted to add to.
Can I just say though how awkward it is that we started this and the writer strike and the actor strike has just been going on, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about it.
It's the irony is not lost on me.
It makes me laugh really hard. And you know what was funny? I saw a meme, and I'll try to send it to you, but it was a compilation of all these terrible lines from the recent trilogy of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Like, so this is why they're striking, right? And I was like,
I've seen similar things where it's a lot of backlash for lack of wanting to use or go more in depth with the CGI, or not wanting to retake shots because an actor just sucks, or because the lines that they're given just suck. And yeah, it's the whole reason we're doing this podcast.
It really is. You know, back in the day, best writers and best actors were put forward, but now that we have so many platforms, so many avenues, I feel like we have just a lot. So sometimes it's good to have, I don't know, quality over quantity, and I feel like we're just getting a lot of quantity now, and quality is slowly.
Well, and not even that. Like, we're not even getting very many new movies out either. It's just the quality is going down. Both quantity and quality are going down. And I want to blame AI in part for some things, because it's making actors lazy or writers lazy. But I don't know.
AI kind of scares me a little bit, just because I've seen some of the AI art that gets put up there. You like put 2 characters in and it'll make them like amazing, or like people are like, oh, I could just like put in my D&D thing and make up and I'm like, that's kind of cool, because I'm not artistic, but it'd be cool if I could put in a thing and just get a quick rendition. But it's like it's searching all these other works, and it just, I'd rather spend good money and work with an artist.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the human touch.
You know what I think though about all this though is everyone gets nervous. I'm still surprised that book sales are still very well done. You know what business isn't out of business? Books, libraries, Barnes & Noble, still the best place to go.
Yeah, 100%. I will say, and some of my best friends know this, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore period, it's the most dangerous place in the world. I was telling Willem earlier, my wife and I went to the DI yesterday to look for like a coffee table and maybe pick up a printer secondhand, pre-used, whatever. And we didn't come out with a printer. We didn't come out with a coffee table. Instead, we came out with like 9 books because we had spent probably 20 minutes in the book section just perusing And yeah, more money spent on those books than we probably should have spent. Or the money that we spent on those books
could have bought
us a table or a printer or something useful. But you know, my end goal is to own a library of my own, books that I have purchased with my money, that friends and family can come in and they can read those books. And Willem, just so you're aware, in order to classify a collection of books as a library, you have to own over 1,000 books. 1,000 books is the limit, is the minimum for owning a library, calling your collection a library.
No, maybe I'm over a quarter easily, and a lot of my books are in storage. And I will say, do picture books count? Because I started a collection when I was very young about picture books.
Yeah, any book that has been published.
Okay.
And it doesn't even have to be published. Like if you write your own book and it doesn't get published, you can still count that towards your library. In my personal opinion.
All right, no,
I don't.
No discrimination.
No discrimination.
Right.
It's a book. A book is a book.
A book is a book, no matter how much you look. That didn't work. A person's a person, no matter. Oh, well, speaking of stories and books, let's get on to my pitch then. Part 2 of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oh my gosh. But I did promise you my Spider-Man story.
Yes.
So, and this will be Tim's reaction. I was a lifeguard here in Utah for a long time, and one day I wake up. This is probably back in high school. I wake up during the summer, and I got to get to my shift. And I throw on my glasses, and I get home, and I get to work, and I'm sitting there up in the lifeguard stand looking at all the swimmers and all the water aerobic ladies, and I'm going, what is going on? My eyes were just fuzzy in my glasses. It was hard for me to focus. And I'm sitting there, and I take off my glasses, and oh my goodness, folks, I could see clearly. Everything was perfect, absolutely fine. Did the whole Peter Parker thing, put my glasses over my eyes again, fuzzy. Took them off, and then I realized my terrible mistake. I slept with my contacts in.
That is a mistake, for sure.
So, yeah, I seriously sat there going, am I healed? Am I Spider-Man? Even did the whole, like, do-do-do-do, like, in the chair. Just the thwip hand.
Nope.
But no, I just forgot my contacts. So, he was great. Oh, so, let's talk about my actual Spider-Man story. So, really quick, I'm going to retcon something from the last episode. And guess what? We can do that because this is our podcast. These are our pitches. And you all are just going to just be happy. So,
we already did it a couple times with my Star Wars pitch.
Yes, we did. And there was nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Dad, but I'm not going to retcon the Chewie losing his arm thing. I know you're mad about that. But
was he mad about it?
Yeah.
No, I want to see Chewie with a robot arm. That's fine. I accept it. Also, it's ironic because, Wookiees tend to tear off people's arms. So I like it. The irony wasn't stolen. That was part
of his excuse for not liking it, was that Chewie's supposed to be ripping other people's arms off.
That's why it's funny. Mm-hmm. So what I am retconning is our first initial look with Electro. I do still want to see the building. If you remember from last episode, Spider-Man is fighting Rhino, which I'm kind of retconning that as well. So there's two major things I'm retconning. Rhino is in that facility because he's, testing it, but also Norman they want to shift blame and make it not look like it's solely Oscorp's fault that this happened. So takes a box. It was just whatever. Building is tumbling, collapsing. Halfway through the fight, we see Max falling through due to the fight, becoming Electro. He's severely burned. We see like a faint glow in his eyes, and he screams. Power goes out and he passes out. He's not that crumply, He's like severely burnt, but miraculously he just looks like a healed burn victim. So
Right.
it's going to be very confusing when he's discovered.
Very, very similar to like when I don't know if you've seen pictures of people who've been struck by lightning.
Yes.
It's gonna look kind of like he's gonna look like
Yes.
that.
So yeah, very much like that, and the eels will be kind of flickering around him. I really love the eels kind of like and still like shocking him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is his birthday, and I just want everyone to kind of remember that. So where we picked up last, we're gonna, instead of picking off with we're seeing Electro walking toward the city, we're gonna cut to Aunt May and Gwen hugging each other, crying for the boy that they love, Peter. They just reminisced, and we kind of see the camera follow Peter, and it shows him just passed out in his bed, and it shows his hand lying there, and the camera's going to slowly transition, and we're going to see another hand lying on the floor, and we're going to see we're back at that facility where Dylan had fallen, and we see crews are like working to find people. They're cleaning up the eels, and they're like, all right, we've got all these eels, we found everyone, we found all the people, is there anything left? And one woman like sees a hand. She goes, oh my gosh, we almost forgot someone. Like she's freaking out, like we have someone. And I want that to be kind of an emphasis that Max is a nobody. He almost got left by the rescue team.
Okay.
They full on were like, all right, let's wrap it up, time to go. And one woman just kind of sees a faint, like a little flick of his hand. She goes, oh my gosh, there's someone under there. Everyone rushes, and we see like when she goes to get Max, like check for a pulse, she gets shocked even through like her plastic gloves. Like, what the heck? And they're like, must be from the eels. Like, they're like, whatever. And it's calm down. They're able to get Max. Like, we gotta get him out of here. And we see like a close up of some of the people's necks, their hair. They're kind of it's kind of rising for a little bit.
Kind of a Bride of Frankenstein moment where the hair kind of
not the hair, like kind of the poof, but just like have you ever been shocked before?
Oh yeah.
And you've seen like your hairs flap, or you've been close to electricity and you'll see the static electricity build. That sort of thing.
We all played with balloons as kids.
Yeah, we did.
Heck, I played with balloons here in your apartment.
You're like,
just a couple weeks ago.
just messing around with them. So we cut to them with Max. They're sitting there doing the typical thing. We have a late 20s African-American male, severely burned yet healed. Like they're looking at each other, all confused, like fell into a vat, looked like he'd been shocked, still looks like she's trying to feel a pulse. And he's like, it's very faint. We need to, use AED, or they have, actually, no, with them being, with this being very severe, they're going to use I forgot their names, the little glare, the startup. I can't think of what they're called. I probably should have looked it up before. I always want to call it an AED, but it's not an AED.
Editor's note, defibrillator. The term I was looking for was a defibrillator. Sorry about that. Jeez.
But it's basically the same kind of thing, because technically, folks, once your heart stopped, it stopped. That the goal of that shock is to,
it's to fix an irregular rhythm.
Yes.
And you can't really start a heart. My dad will be proud of us for knowing that.
I was debating on being a EMT. Typically lifeguards do that. So they got to shock him, and boom, first shock immediately. Wow, like just instant, like freaky reaction. He's awake. He's like, his eyes are glowing for a second, and he stops, looks around. He's like, where am I? And they're like, sir. And the woman is being so kind, like, sir, we found you in the rubble. Are you okay? Do you know where you are? No. And he's like scared, kind of like just terrified.
Kind of like how he is in the actual movie.
Yeah. The scene where he's walking around, just
scared, trying to figure things out.
We are getting that Max right now. And he's like, no. She goes, do you know your name? Max Dillon. Like, and he's kind of like almost like a little, like, just, if you've ever been so scared, even as an adult, you turn into little child form. You're like, I don't know. My body is so scared. I can't. Anyway.
He's in shock.
He's in shock there. And she's asking him, okay, do you know who you are? Do you know when your birthday is? today. She's like, happy birthday, Max. Like, and they all look at each other, and he's like, today's my birthday. And he like kind of like, today's my birthday. It's my birthday. And he's like, what happened? It's my birthday. And they're kind of working on it. Max is okay. And he's like, Spider-Man saved me today. Why wasn't he there now? Where was he? And like, he's just so confused. And then Max looks over and turns his head and sees his reflection and loses it because he's burned. Like, I'm talking like severely burned. I don't want to be like, everyone needs to look it up, but we all can imagine a few victims. And Max begins to scream. And they're like, we got to sedate him. And as they try to go in, Max, no! And he shoots. And he shoots and kind of sends them back. And he's like freaking out and just screams. And car engine, everything, just kind of like an EMP, just and car crashes. And you see Max like stumbling out. But yet all the other people are knocked out. They're just laying around. The poor woman's like, Max, please come back. And Max, though, he feels great. He goes, we see a faint glow start really building. His eyes are really shining now. And he goes, looks up at the light, and he's starting to see, we see through his perspective, we see the kind of light streams at this point. He's like, goes up and absorbs it, and he feels just calmer. He goes, and again, we're starting to really see the skin become more translucent. We're seeing more blue starting to show from his eyes. It's starting to go down his face. And she's like, Max, please. And he looks at this poor woman. He goes, I'm sorry. And like just starts kind of stumbling off, almost just running, trying to get out of there. We're going to just go with the trope. And he steals an EMP hoodie. And he puts it on because he's kind of uncovered. And he gets one off the ground, puts it on. And he starts running toward, he sees the energy on the floor. And he starts running. And we're going to cut now to Norman and Harry. His name is now Horman. I'm just kidding.
Oh, boy.
Harry and Norman, the Osborn boys, are talking in the penthouse, and they're discussing about the accident. And, Harry's just kind of like, I can't believe this happened. It's absolutely crazy. And, Norman's like, I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad you were fine. I'm sorry you had to leave. And he's like, no, it's fine. It was great seeing Peter, but man, he was in a sticky spot with his girlfriend. And Norman kind of realizes, Peter Parker. Parker, that's a name I haven't heard in a fat minute, sort of thing. And, and Harry's like, you knew his parents? He's like, of course I did. His father worked for Oscorp. Him and Carl were one of our leading resources in research. Peter with his spiders, Carl with his skin armor. Those two were inseparable. They were working so hard to heal so many things. Parker was working on healing due to spider DNA, and Carl was going to make indestructible armor around the skin that would help people. And also help and also he's like, along with that, we were hoping to, not indestructible armor. He was hoping to make something to help heal skin, just like with burn victims. He's like, he was hoping to help with severe burn issues to be the best sort of skin graft you could imagine. And after they tragically died, we had to have Connors take over for Richard, and we had Octavius took over for the exoskeleton, which is, for everyone in the audience, that's the rhino suit that replaced the skin that Dr. Carl was working on. And he kind of like chuckles to himself, and he goes, I can't imagine, what would have happened if Richard was still alive, because Connors, you've replaced the spider DNA with lizard DNA. He became a big giant lizard, and Parker would have become, and he just kind of pauses, a spider. And we see like a news bulletin of Spider-Man, fighting the rhino and failing. Norman's just staring at the newscast, and he's just looking at Spider-Man, and he's just like, oh. And he stands up, like, excuse me, Harry. And he goes into his own personal room, and he calls up, he's like, Adrian Toombs, the gentleman, the man with the hat, for anyone who missed that. I need Spider-Man's blood now. Because, like, something clicked. He's just like, oh. So now we cut back to Peter and Gwen. We're now having that discussion.
Okay.
So Peter's like, I'm sorry for falling asleep. She's like, no, it's perfectly fine. I understand. And he goes, so Oxford, huh? He goes, that's a pretty long ways away. And Gwen's like, no, I think we could do... She goes, I think it would be fine. I think long distance would work for us. I think that we could make it work. We definitely could. And I know it would be far away, but it won't be that bad with you being far away from me. You can take it. And that's one of the only times I ever want to see Peter have a flashback of Captain Stacy. And that's when we see him going, stay away from her. And Peter's like, yeah, that might be good. He's kind of like thinking like, that might actually work. And then, but Peter, getting nervous, gets all quippy. He goes, like, just that joking, like, hey, you won't be here to distract me when I'm being Spider-Man. And realizes as it comes out, just like, oof. Ooh.
Not the right thing to say.
And as we see, like, him, like, hey, like, just the, tire screech record scratch face, Gwen's face is like, excuse me? And then we cut to Max just absorbing more energy. He's walking down the street, and he's walking toward, oh my gosh, I almost said Temple Square. Times Square. Both have pretty lights, okay? Well, only at Christmas time. But... he's turning more and more blue, and he's starting to get way more attention. We see officers like, hey, like, we got something here. And we cut back to Gwen, and Gwen is yelling. Like, we are cutting right back with, I can't believe you would say that. He's like, I was kidding. I get nervous. I'm joking. And she's like, you're never serious. You're always joking. Even as Spider-Man, you make jokes. People are shooting at you, Peter. People are trying to kill you, and all you can do is make jokes. And he goes, Spider-Man always jokes. That's who Spider-Man is. And she's just like, complete, like, no. You can't always fix things with a joke. Like, everything is a joke to you. Always. I can't stand this. And all of a sudden, we just see the flickering. The spider sense is going off, and Peter looks over, and he sees the flashing lights, and something's going on, and he looks at her. And Gwen is just tearing up, and she's like, maybe long distance wouldn't work. And Peter's like, no, I need to go. And he goes, she's like, fine, go. I got it. It's fine. And he goes, I'll be back. I love you so much. I got it. Like, kisses her. He's like, I love you. Please, we'll talk about this. And she goes, I understand. Just get out of here. Like, I want everyone to understand that Gwen is trying so hard to be like, I know you're Spider-Man, and I know you get this, but you're still my boyfriend, and I still have needs.
Right. Well, and there's the scene in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, where she basically says, I love Spider-Man, but I love Peter Parker more.
Yes. And
we're getting that kind of...
Yes, I do. I really wanted this to be like, they're tugging back and forth, because... If you're going to tell me that Gwen knows who Peter is, well, wait. If Gwen knows that Peter's Spider-Man, this isn't like Lois Lane knowing who Superman is. She doesn't really have to worry. 9 out of 10, fine, not even that. 99 out of 100 times, Superman doesn't have to worry. She doesn't have to worry about Superman coming home. He's going to make it. It's just that one villain out of 100 that is going to make Lois go, oh my gosh, Superman's hurt. Like, but this is... Spider-Man. This is not... He is still very strong, but... But
he's not invincible. He's not immortal.
Spider-Man gets shot up. If you get him in the head with one sniper bullet, he's gone. If you get him with any bullet in the head, for the most part, he is very durable, but not... If he pulls the bullets out, if he just gets shot up in the arm, pulls the bullets out, he will be healed in less than a day. depending on how deep the bullet went. But still, like, that's more than you could say about
It's
me and you getting shot.
It's Spider-Man has the D&D magic where he can take a long rest and he's fully healed.
Honestly, yeah, basically, you give him a good 10 hours rest of like sitting in, like, he doesn't even need no what's the Star Wars tank?
The back to tank.
Yeah, he don't need no back to tank.
Nope.
He just needs his bed. He's fine. Maybe some nice essential oils and a bathtub. He'll be fine. You know, he's like, this is what I needed. The bullets pop out. Yeah. Just to be clear, Spider-Man does not heal like Wolverine, but he doesn't heal the same as me and you. He is probably more than halfway between us and Wolverine, but still pretty good distance.
He heals pretty quick, but he's
Yeah.
not. It's not instant.
Yeah, like he's still probably feeling a little bit of the Rhino's punch, but hopefully by now he's still like, it's more of like you got a bad tackle, not hit by a truck.
Yeah.
We cut back to Osborn now, and as he's walking back, he gets a call again from Toombs, and he's like, this better be good. Like, I just hung up with you. Like, what do you want? And Toombs is like, we have relocated Rhino, and he says, all right, I'll be with you soon. Goes back out to Harry, and you know what, let's just say that as he's calling Toombs is letting him know that that'd probably be simpler, because he walks back and Harry's like, is everything okay, Daddy? He goes, actually, son, I need to get going. And as he's heading back down the elevator, we see his hand start shaking. He takes his little kit out and he kind of shoots himself up to kind of keep his hand at bay, keep the scales at bay, all that fun stuff. And while he's going down, we see flashing explosions, and he's like, oh no, like this is getting kind of nuts. And Max at this point is like hood down, blue, and just like he has got the high because he is just absorbing electricity because he's feeling power. And it's something that, you know, in real life Max didn't have a lot of. And honestly, in most renditions of, well, this kind of Electro I'm basing off of, he really does get like a high from this. He's absorbing the power. It's like, oh my gosh, that's the good stuff. If we had real life
high.
if we had a real life power-ups like health potions, I'm pretty sure we'd be like, nom, 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 like just keep eating it. Dude, you're at 100%. No, I'm going to keep eating it. It feels good. Like that's kind of what Max is doing.
I mean, it's a similar concept to like taking painkillers.
Yeah. Ooh, yes.
Similar concept.
He's just, we'll just say that he's kind of he's just at a full-on power high. But as he's sitting there, he realizes he's surrounded by cops. People are backed up and screaming, and he realizes, oh, they're scared of me. Max Dillon. No one's ever noticed me. And he's kind of getting nervous, and he starts kind of dimming. And he's still like blue, but the glow's kind of going down because he's just like, whoa. And we hear, hey, Electro! And we turn, and Spider-Man comes down swinging. Begins to talk with him. He goes, excuse me, sir. Is everything okay? And he's like, and he kind of sees that he's nervous. He goes, all right, buddy, how can I help you? Like, what's going on? And Electro's like, Max, sorry, I'm going to say to him as Max. This is Max right now. And Max is like, Spider-Man? He goes, yep, that's me, your one and only friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Can I help you today? You know, we don't need all of this. Everyone, like, chill down, like, calm down. And he goes, you're not scared of me? He goes, no, I'm not scared of you. I've seen way where I fought a giant lizard, and even today, earlier, I fought a giant rhino. Still feeling it. And he goes, yeah, you saved me from him. I was going to get run over. And he's like, oh, you had... And I'm going to say... And I really didn't like how I've always imagined Spider-Man, you know, he's really smart and has good recollection. And he goes, the blueprints. He goes, yeah, Max. And he goes, yes, Max. What's your full name, Max? And he goes, Max Dillon. Officers, this is Max Dillon. He's a friend of mine. Okay? Just fine. I saved him earlier. This is absolutely fine. He's like, what happened to you? He's like, I fell. And he's like getting all like just starting to stammer, and it was my birthday. And he goes, well, happy birthday, Max. It's like, it's a wonderful day. And he goes, Spider-Man, I don't know what to do. I have so much power and I don't know how to deal with this. So much. And he kind of glows. feels so good. And he's just starting to like really glow. He goes, I know, I get it. I get what it means to have awesome power. I really do. And he goes, I had a great man tell me once, and I am using the quote from the last movie because technically it is not used in this series. If you can do good things for other people, then you have moral obligation to do those things. When we have power, we're able to help people. So with that being said, Max, with great power comes great responsibility. And everyone in the audience like, aw. You know, Gwen is... what? Aw. Yeah, it just hits. It just hits. You're like, oh.
Got goosebumps.
Yeah. And, you know, at this point, we see Gwen has been watching with her family. Like, she had returned home, and she is watching this with her family. Like, she had come up to her apartment, and her younger brother's like, Gwen, Spider-Man's fighting some weird blue electric guy. And he goes, what? She's like, are you serious? What? And like gets up, and she sees this whole interaction. And this is the Spider-Man and Peter Parker that she loves. And she's like, oh. And then Peter is like, well, think about all the good you could do, Max. Think about all this great responsibility you have. I know for a fact you would make my electricity bill a hell of a lot smaller. And, you know, kind of starts laughing, and the whole audience starts laughing. And someone kind of like starts like chanting, yeah, help our electric bill. You got this. You can help save us. Electro. And, you know, Spider-Man's like, see, everyone loves it. And he goes, and we see that he is not happy with this. Everyone's cheering his name, but cheering Electro. Everyone's saying that he could, you know, do all their power. He goes, good? Helping people? My whole life, I have tried to do good, and I have never once been told thank you. And now with this power, you expect me just to help for free? And just like electricity flies out. He goes, no. Not you, not Oscorp, not anyone will tell me what to do with my power ever again. And just poof, and just the shock goes out. And Peter's like, nope, can't have this. And he's like, no, please. He's like, and everyone starts firing at him, like, fire. And just immediately atmosphere change. Everyone's running. He is flipping cars. And Spider-Man goes up, swings, goes to punch. And he just, and as he hits him, boom, like just flies back like a fly swatter. Like, no! Like an electric thing. And he's like,
like the kid in Jurassic Park.
Kind of, yeah.
On the electric wire.
No, like full on like a bug on, like, yeah, just gets flung back, you know, because that's how electricity works. And Electro's like, I feel untouchable because I am. And Peter's like, yeah, I just realized that. And, you know, Peter immediately like is like, all right, and he doesn't think, he just reacts, and he goes to web shoot with both. And he goes, all right, shoots, and we see that awesome interaction of the touch him, and and they kind of melt, and they don't ever touch him, and we see electricity shoot up the webs, and again just shock him, and Peter is just no, and he's on the floor. Just suit is burned, he's burned, web shooters are gone, Electro's just sitting there just floating now. He's like, oh, because he's been absorbing power while he's been doing this, because we see all of the lights all of the screens are kind of starting to fade, but a few of them are starting to show newscast, and we see Electro attacking Times Square, breaking news, Electro, and then we just see everything, and his name is everywhere. He goes, oh, I like seeing my name in all the lights. And he looks at Spider-Man, he goes, I thought you were amazing, but you're not. And he flies off the gun, and Spider-Man
I'm imagining hearing him say, I am, and then vanishing.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You're not.
Amazing.
I used to think you were amazing,
but you're not.
I am.
And yep.
Gone.
And gone. And Peter is just sitting there on the floor like shocked. He's did not win. This is the second villain that beat him. Spider-Man is, because this is the aftermath of what happens when a hero is introduced to society. at some point, something will come that will hit back. And I truly believe if superheroes did exist, like Vision said in Civil War, something has to come to beat it. The Avengers came, so things had to come to compensate for it. It's just how nature works. And so finally, Peter is getting this consequence of this great responsibility he's holding. Things are trying to compensate for how much crime he's been stopping, for how much change he's been putting out. Mm-hmm. So Peter is now like, oh, so not only is he bruised, kind of broken still, he's now shocked to pieces. But we see him like get up, and he goes, oh, and he tries to web shoot, and it's fried. He's like, oh, come on. And we see him limping, and he's just limping down the road. He goes, and he just kind of raises in taxi, like just something, but nothing's gone. Like everything's out. New York City is kind of dark with a few lights still going. So Spider-Man lost. He lost that round. And Norman, we see Norman watching that footage, and we just see him just kind of grinning, like, and we see that when he grins, we see that he has some of the goblin skin, and it's kind of a twisted goblin smile going up his ear, kind of like almost like a Grinch thing, but we just kind of see it when he's sitting at his office, and the light's just showing the evil grin smile of the Green Goblin. So Gwen is kind of like heartbroken, and she's watching that too, like, oh, like it's just a lot. Anyway, we cut to the next day, and Peter is with Harry at Oscorp, and they're just talking, they're just chatting, they're just hanging out, and Peter is asking for advice, and Harry's like, oh my gosh, you do not want advice from me. And he goes, dude, you were with models. He's like, they were only with me because of the money. Like, you think I was doing a good job? The whole time I was sweating bullets, the whole time I was with them. And Peter's like, dang it. And as they're getting close to it, we see Miss Felicia Hardy walks by and smiles at Peter, kind of like, he's like, hi, Harry, who's your friend? Who's your cute friend here? And Peter's like, just kind of blushes, because Miss Hardy is, gorgeous, especially if it's, who's the actress that played her? She played
Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones. Oh my gosh, Felicity Jones is so pretty. Yeah, if Felicity Jones waved at me, I'd be like, anyway. And he goes, Miss Felicia, can you give Peter advice about dating? And she just kind of laughs at the same thing. And she's like, I've never been one for dating. I am not the best woman to ask. And trust me, no man is ever going to bag this cat. And like walks down the hall. So.
I see it.
Okay. And finally they kind of walk, and he's like, well, thanks, Miss Hardy. And they walk down the hall, and Henry and Peter arrive to Norman, and Norman sees it. What did I say?
You said Henry.
Henry! His name is now Henry. Sorry, everyone. I'm terrible at this. I even put Henry in my notes. Why did I do that? No, that's a Harry. I have bad handwriting. Even I have to decipher what I wrote. It's like, what did this madman write? Oh, it was me. And people probably say, Willem, you should type. No, I get distracted with computers. It doesn't work for me.
I get that.
Yeah. Harry and Peter get up to Norman, and Norman's at his office, and he sees him, and he goes, Mr. Parker. Finally, I get to see you once again, and my oh my, have you grown up to become the spitting image of your father. And they begin to just reminisce, talk about his father, talking about pictures of Norman and not Norman. Yeah, there's a picture of Norman Parker and Carl, whose last name is still a secret, and talking about how hard they used to work and how it was a tragedy losing both of their top minds, and it really was a toll to the Osborn Corporation. And finally, though, he says, and speaking of pictures, I hear you take pictures of Spider-Man now. And he kind of jokes, you mind if you can set me up an autograph for him? He goes, I'm just joking. I know there's no way for you to interact with Spider-Man. You just take his pictures. And because that's what drives me nuts. It's like, oh, you take pictures of Spider-Man? Can you give me talk to him? It's like, dude, you don't see the paparazzi like getting asked, like, can you give me a picture, like an autograph of Tom Cruise? It's like, I just take his pictures. Drives me nuts. And so that's kind of my jab at all those tropes. Norman Osborn's not an idiot.
Yeah.
So he's going to be like, but he's gonna tease him about it though, like, hey, maybe you can get me an autograph. And Harry's like, Dad, and he goes, I know, son. Like, they're just both teasing him, and Harry kind of joins into. He's like, but yeah, seriously though, can you get me my dad an autograph? And he's like, ah! So again, I want a somewhat better connection between Harry and Norman. Like, I
think we talked about it last time. I prefer the relationship between Harry and Norman to be a lot more father and son and a lot less employer-employee.
Exactly. He loves his son. This is his pride and joy. And he does have some things that he gets disappointed for. And he holds him to a higher esteem. And I'm pretty sure in the background we see him like, I can't believe you got a B. Like, I'm sure there have been conversations like that. We can imagine that. But in this time frame, he's returned. Norman is still kind of dying, and he doesn't just take it out on, like, I got to find the cure. He's like, if I don't make it, I'm still going to have a good time with my son. I'm doing that for the benefit of my dead wife. So Norman just says, but boys, it has been a wonderful time talking to you. I need to go. As it's not easy being the CEO of Oscorp. Things I have to do. And Peter's like, I fully understand, Mr. Osborn. It's wonderful to see you again. And it's amazing to see you in person. Sometimes I feel like you're a god. And he goes, no, I'm not. Like, that sort of thing. Just like, I still get goosebumps knowing that I am friends with your son. So, like, it's just kind of cool. Because, like, there was some interaction when they were little boys. But now that he's grown, and he left, and Norman and Oscorp got even more popular, Peter kind of got forgotten. Whatever. So anyway, we see him entering a car, going to kind of do a little transition of the car, arriving to another warehouse, because, no evil corporation is short of evil warehouses. Because, like, seriously, though, after working for this small business I do now, the amount of warehouses that you can truly get a lot of warehouses, and anyway. Look at Amazon. Warehouses galore. It's not hard. Anyway, so we see him entering with Adrian, and we see, Octavius is working on computers, whatever. It's just this big fancy setup. We just see Alexei, and he's just scratching at the suit. He's like, Norman's suit does not come off. And he goes, we warned you that this was a possibility. He goes, I did not think it was this extreme. It feels like it is turning into my skin. And he goes, I understand. We will work on this, Alexei, but we promise to make you big, and you work with us, we'll do our best to fix it. Right, Octavius? Yes, sir. I'm already thinking of ways to get the suit off now. And they really are. They're like, all right, we'll try to think of something. Because they want to make this suit possible for even military if they have to. Norman doesn't want to work for militaries, because, again, they're more neuroscience, but if they have to, they will. And he goes, now, Rhino, show me your hand. And we see, Rhino bring his ginormous hand forward, and we see blood. He goes, perfect. And they take it, and both of the scientists are warning him, now, Mr. Osborn, this probably won't give us the best match, but this should be enough to find out anything. He goes, all right, just run the test. Like, let's find what's so special about this DNA. And right off the bat, though, they just say, Mr. Osborn, you should know, this is very interesting, that it is a match for Richard Parker. Like, the DNA does match. And he goes, well, that's probably smart because Parker was using his blood for the spiders. And they're like, oh. And they're like, well, should we use his son? And immediately, like, the goblin comes out a little more. Like, because as he's leaving the car, he hasn't used his stuff, and the goblin's kind of showing. He's like, no! We will leave Peter alone, because he does like Peter. And also he says, and Peter cannot know about his father. Do you understand? And they're like, yes, we'll leave him alone. It's just a coincidence. It's fine. They're going to brush it off, because, of course, like, the answer's clearly right there. Right there, we can see, like, Spider-Man got bit by a Spider. Clearly from your office. That's what it looks like. That's the connection you've made. And it's pointing to being Richard Parker. and it's like he's just saying this is the conclusion. There's no way it's that boy who I just saw, who looked absolutely fine from electrocution fight. There's no way, like, you know. So, but Toombs does suggest, like, well, Connors did replace Parker for the blood sample, so we could make a hybrid of the two using a remainder of Connor's experimental serum.
Oh boy, the image that just popped into my head is a cursed image of a tarantula with the back half of just a snake.
Oh,
that's the image that popped into my head.
That's terrifying, and I kind of like it, but don't worry. He goes, but the last existing were confiscated by the government and are held in high government security. And Norman turns around and the skin's growing even more, and he's just got this devilish grin. He's limping, and he looks at Rhino. Now, I believe it's time for your second job, but I believe you will need some help. And we cut to Harry and Peter. You know, they're at the bottom of Oscorp, and he's like, "Can I get you a ride to the Daily Bugle?" And he goes, "Yes, Bugle." I almost said Daily Planet. Wrong comic. He goes, and Harry's like, "Can I get you a ride?" And Peter's like, "No, I'm good, man. I'll make it. Don't worry, I'll be fine. And I enjoy the walks. I don't need to be driven around by my chauffeur." And Harry's like, "Oh!" Like they just like do a little like high five thing, and then he's like, "All right, I gotta go, man." And as Harry's waiting for his chauffeur, we see Gwen kind of follow out the building and is just distracted, and he's been waiting for a hot minute. But anyway, she like kind of bumps into Harry, and he goes, Miss Stacy. And he goes, well, he's like, where are you off to today? And she's like, I have to head to the embassy and I'm kind of late. And he goes, let me take you there. And she goes, oh, with your fancy chauffeur? And he goes, he's like, yeah, I see why Peter's dating you. He's like, ooh, yes. And she goes, sure. And he goes, sure, because I'd love to hear your side of things. And she goes, oh, he told you? And the chauffeur roads up because, yes, he talked to me. And would it be an embassy? That's my question really quick. Would it be an embassy that she goes to talk about with Oxford? Or would it just be like an Oxford facility? Like
I don't remember what it was in the actual movie.
I'm just going to say, for craps and giggles, embassy.
Okay.
Because it is working with a foreign government, and you have to work with something, so I'm pretty sure she had to go to an embassy that would meet with the representative of Oxford. So she had to go to the embassy. Since they're in New York, there's so many embassies there. It's not that hard to go to the UK one. She probably has an appointment, so it's really pressing she goes there. So I'm going to say embassy. Thank you for helping me with that.
I didn't really help much.
You helped a lot. Take the compliment, Tim.
Thanks, Willem.
So Gwen's talking about, her side of things. She's really frustrated with Peter, always joking, never takes things seriously. As she gives Harry like a room to talk, Harry goes, talking to Peter after coming home, it sounded like he was really sad after I left. And I wasn't there for him. I should have been better in long distance relationships, but those are extremely hard. And we see Gwen's face like, and he goes, but I will say that the jokes, Peter is doing well when he's joking, because if he's not, he's going to go back to that sad kid. The joking is what makes him so memorable. The joking is what makes Peter Peter. And he goes, and because he met you, it sounds like he was able to joke again. And she just kind of is reflecting on it. And as they pull up to the embassy, he sits there and goes, Peter is grown a lot, and he has matured. And I do believe he would love, and he loves you no matter what. So I know that whatever you choose to do, he will accept it no matter what, because that's the man Peter is. Okay. And, Gwen's like, thanks, Harry. And he goes, no problem. Drives off. And then we cut back to Norman. He's kind of sitting there on his cane with Adrian, and full on, almost scaly, his hand, we start the scene off with his hands over the cane, and they're full on goblin. Mm-hmm. And he goes, do it. and they just shoot up a light. This might be cheesy, and I would love your input because I'm trying to have them attract Electro's attention. In my head, I'm just like, giant spotlight, pulse energy through it, and Electro will see someone's like doing a calling card. You know, they're pulsing the light.
The bat signal, but for Electro.
Kind of, but they're like kind of like surging energy through it, so we hear like humming of going. So like to us, it looks like the light's still going, and we can slightly see.
I can see maybe like a Tesla coil tower, and they've kind of got.
So maybe inside the warehouse, not on top of it. They're like inside still, because I wanted them to be like at the warehouse.
Well,
still.
maybe on top. Maybe it's like a telescoping thing, or maybe it's on its side, and then they push a button and it raises itself up. And I'm just imagining like the ball at the top, the copper ball with the Tesla coils wrapping all the way around the bottom, and kind of just the electricity, the pulse.
Because we need them to like, because Electro can see, and he's been getting more powerful, and I just need him to be able to see where this pulsing's coming from. And we see like. During it, we see the light totally fade, and all of a sudden a bright light appears, and Electro is kind of, the light fades, and Electro just kind of materializes out of it, because he's just getting that good, because he's just absorbing. He's like, thank you for that snack sort of thing. He's like, that was good. And Max just looks like and when Max appears, he kind of lets the fade go, and we actually see him kind of turn off the glow, and he's healed up a little bit. One side of his face is better, but he looks good. He looks confident. It's the different Max. You know how he was in No Way From Home?
In No Way Home?
Yeah. What did I say? No way from home. Yeah, No Way From Home.
No Way From Home.
No Way From Home.
You're not allowed to leave home.
You're not allowed to leave. This is it. But that Jamie Foxx is kind of what's being represented now. And, Osborn looks at him and goes, Mr. Dillon, you look good. Dillon's like, you know who I am? He's like, of course, we searched you up in our records, and we are so sorry for what Oscorp has caused you. And we want to work with you and make you be healed. And he's like, no. I don't want to be healed. I want more power. I want to become energy. I'm not comfortable with this anymore, like touches his skin. I prefer and he shines up and he's just energy. This is what I want. And Norman's like, okay, I guess we could make that work too. Kind of side eyes Octavius. There's so many scientist names. Octavius, and he kind of just gives him like a thumbs up, like, I got it. I have an idea just for that. And he goes, I've been very intrigued with you, Mr. Dillon. And Electro cuts him off, and he goes, no more, Mr. Dillon, none of that. I don't like that no more. I like the name Electro. No one knew who Max Dillon was, but everyone will know who Electro is. And they're like, all right, a deal it is. I have just one simple favor from you, Electro, and we will make your dream a reality. I'd love to shake your hand, but I prefer my heartbeat being normal, thank you. And Electro kind of laughs. And then Norman kind of leans in close. Again, we're just seeing the goblin now. He goes, how well do you work with others? And we cut to Peter. Peter did not go to the Daily Bugle. We see him kind of he kind of stole a electrical suit from some guys working on all these people were recovering all the power lines that were cut out. Max has been doing havoc. We see him kind of sneak up to a place that has rubber suits, and he's like, yoink! And he yeets it and gets out of there. Still, he's just walking because he doesn't fix his web shooters yet. And so we see him kind of put everything down, and this is where we get the compilation of him working and making the electro suit and the electro web shooters. We see him doing the tests. We see him making them electric proof. I'm going to just simply say that he's going to line the inside of his suit with, we see him kind of putting his suit's inside out, and he's applying the rubber to the inside. And yeah, we just see him kind of working on it. He's getting all excited. He's just in the zone. And then Peter realizes Gwen. Like, he just, like, realizes, like, because he's, like, working on it, and he looks over and sees a picture of him and Gwen that's framed, and he goes, Gwen. And he realizes, like, she's at the embassy. And he tries calling her. Voicemail. And he looks at the suit, looks at the test shooter. He's like, well, no time like the present. And we see him kind of just run out of the house and telling May that he loves her. Oh, and I forgot to include this. I meant to put it back. Forgive me, everyone. We're going to cut back to the scene of Peter coming home after the Electro fight, of him sneaking past and him overhearing that May was training to become a nurse because she just wanted to be more. And she was getting the shift traded so that she can do that, whatever. So as Peter's so fast forward to now, Peter's leaving, sees May. He goes, May, I'm going to see Gwen. I love you so much. He's getting the results today. And good luck with your nursing test, like getting like at nurse school. And she's like, how did you figure that out? He goes, I'm your nephew. I'm supposed to know these things. And we hear the door slam and he's out of there. You know, just kind of that cute interaction of like.
I like that's good. Because, I mean, we had the moment with Gwen and Aunt May kind of gushing over Peter, and I like this.
And
it shows that Peter cares about May.
And I wish, and I do want, well, there is more, but yeah, like I do wish May would have been a major character, but she's still there. And if we look at all the other Spider movies, May isn't in there a terrible lot, so I don't feel too guilty, but I just felt like that little interaction would be important. We see Gwen is leaving the embassy, pulls her phone out, and she sees the missed call, and she's just about to call Peter, and he appears. So she didn't ignore him. She was just in that meeting. Peter arrives, and we're going to have the final talk, and she goes, I got it. I did it, Peter. I'm going to Oxford. And he goes, you are? And she goes, yes, I'm going to go to Oxford. And this is what I want. This is what I need. And I think it'll be good for both of us. And he's like, okay. So I think we can make long distance. She's like, no long distance. She goes, I know you were joking before about me distracting you from being Spider-Man, but I know that with me being gone, you will become the best Spider-Man that you need to be. Whoa. Calm down.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that. You did not have to make that face. Wow. That just ruined me. That's not what I meant by that remark, but damn.
Oof.
Wow. Oof. She goes, oh my gosh. Wow, I just hit myself with the field, and I wrote that part.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Oof.
Oof. Dang, Tim. Dang. So he goes, I need you. And she goes, no, you don't need me. Everything will be fine. I love you so. And they have a final kiss. It's what Gwen is going to become her own person.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, this was hard, but Gwen wants to go to Oxford. Oxford's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and Peter just looks, and he's, visibly upset, but he goes, I am so proud of you, and I believe this is the best thing that you will do. And, they're kind of tearing up head to head, and at that point, we transition, kind of an abrupt transition, and we see this truck driving, and we just see, rhinos crammed in there, and he's sitting, and we just see Electro, who's like, ugh, it's so slow traveling now. He's like, I can go way faster. And Adrian's like, calm yourself, boys. We'll be fine. He goes, all right, I need this to be fast and efficient. But if you're able to lure Spider-Man in, get his blood. And Alexi's like, I am excited for round 2 with him. Maybe I'll break him more this time. And Electro's like, I still feel a little bad about last round, but I'm okay with ruining that flunky, because again, I really liked your line. He's those, because he's no longer amazing in his eyes. Electro is the main man.
Yeah.
And Toombs goes, all right, boys, go get him. Like, just the whole, like, all right, have at it. They arrive at this facility, and, you know, Rhino says, will you take out lights, please? You're too bright. Hurt my eyes. And Electro's like, I'll see what I can do. Flies forward, and we see inside the warehouse, the facility that they're in, we see the vials are in some form of exhibit deep inside the facility, but we see Electro see all the lights go off because Electro is just yoink, power goes off. Nothing stopping Rhino now. Nothing to really, I know nothing would really shock him, but still just everything is gone. No sirens, no nothing. Just power completely out. You see all the guys are like turning on, all their guns have flashlights on. They're looking around like, what's going on? We hear, what was that? Oh. And he just barrels through. Like, I'm talking, they are going fast and efficient. Barreling through them. He goes, there's Violin. Electro goes to touch one, and he grabs one, and we see it like shock it, and he goes, no, stop. I'll take care of this. And he like and he pulls from his back this little like container that they were having him in. He begins placing him gently, and
which is weird for Rhino.
Yeah,
that's an interesting visual.
Well, Electro can't touch him; he'll fry it. We see that he actually like shocked one, and it was messed up. Like we see it kind of shine, and Electro just kind of takes it from him. Give me that. You'll ruin them. Like, and it's weird seeing him being gentle and. Yeah, I've never really thought of that, but I do imagine that. But Electro can't really touch anything anymore, and he goes, "Sorry, he goes, "Sorry, you're right. I can't touch nothing no more. It's kind of hard being made out of pure electricity, or not being made out of it, but
being energy."
Yeah, you know, and Electro's like, "Whatever," like takes him and going, and at this point we see that Peter's kind of holding Gwen still, and they're kind of like staring off. And they're kind of on top of her apartment, and they're just like talking like, so this is it, huh? This is it. And he goes, you're gonna be amazing. And she goes, and so are you. And I'm just like, oh.
The amazing Spider-Man and the amazing Gwen Stacy.
Yep. Andrew Garfield, to me, whenever people say amazing Spider-Man, he is the amazing Spider-Man. He and I really loved anyway. So yes, amazing suits him. She goes, and you are too. Like, you are amazing. Like that sort of thing. That cheesy cuteness. The spectrum aspect. I don't know my words very well. And now we kind of see that, you know, in Peter's backpack he has a little radio of the police going off, and he goes, government facility being attacked, blah, blah, like Rhino and Electro, all units come forward, like all units to the facility, total blackout, we are going in blind, we need help. And she kind of looks at him and she goes, you got this, I believe in you. And they just do one final kiss. And he goes, I'll see you before you leave, okay? I love you, Gwen Stacy. And she goes, we're just friends now. Like that sort of like just cheesiness, but it's still like they're trying to be lighthearted, but it hurts. And we see Peter like grab his backpack, and he's kind of like tearing up. We just see him put on the mask and jump, and we transition back to, you know, officers are pulled up and they're trying to shoot at Electro, and Electro's just dodging it, goes up to one officer and like whoop, zaps his gun, and he like flies back, and he goes, oh my gosh, this is too easy. And Rhino is literally like walking through. He's like, I don't feel any pressure to do anything. And he's like, we see like officers and SWAT team are like shooting. We see some of them even try to like push him back, and he's like pushing dudes.
He's just walking
through them. Like they don't care. Like I want to see like this version of New York's first time dealing with something this insane. Because Lizard was just a little stunt. It wasn't anything too crazy. It was very quick, very brief. This is their first time going, oh. And we see them pull up like, we got it. And we just see just anti-tank gun get pulled out by someone outside of the facility. And Rhino shoots at it. And he goes, oh no. And he catches it. Like, because again, he's still pretty fast. Catches it. And he goes, wow. Throws it. And because he's still not used to this suit, he goes, this is amazing. Maybe I don't want it off. And Electro appears behind the guy with the thing. He goes, I don't think that's gonna work, and just zaps him, and dude just tases and passes out.
Okay.
And so it's just kind of like they are having a heyday, and Rhino, because Electro can't receive calls, and Rhino's receiving news like, Rhino, you've done enough, get out of there. He goes, I thought you said you wanted him to come. And he goes, he hasn't showed up yet. No, he will. And sure enough, we hear, oh, aren't you two just the cutest little criminal couple ever? We see Spider-Man jump up and he lands on one of the police cars. And his suit kind of looks a little buffered. Like he looks like he put padding in. Like he looks hilarious. He goes, and Rhino looks at him. Are you trying to mock me with your big puffy suit? Like you look silly. And Electro's like, yeah, we can tell that's fake. You're not fooling us with those little muscles. And Spider-Man's like, aw, I thought you guys would think I look big. Dang it.
Oh, I thought I'd impress you.
Yeah, like just because he looks kind of funny. Like it looks good, but it looks
wrong.
It looks wrong. Like because the skin tight suit we've been seeing, I loved, but this one actually kind of looks like the superhero movies we've been seeing. Kind of, he looks like the perfect body.
It's filled in.
Yeah. He looks buff, and he goes, and I really made the padding look good. So I wanted to, finally makes me because even with the strength, it does nothing for the muscles. Like it does nothing. And Electro's like, and just shocks him. And Peter kind of flies back, and he stands up. He goes, oh my gosh, it worked. Because I didn't think it would work. And Electro's like, oh, and he flies forward and he tries punching him. And again, he's not fully energy, but he can still kind of phase in and out. He's getting there. And Peter goes, oh, and he punches him, and Electro flies back and he goes, oh my gosh, it worked. Yes. And he goes and just shoots webs at him, and it sticks to him, and he pulls him in, and he's freaking out because it's working. He didn't get to test it. So he goes, oh my gosh, Max, do you realize how awesome this is? And he slams him down, and he goes, my name's not Max. And he flings him off of him, and he hits the thing. He goes, okay, that one I felt it. And Rhino's hand comes around him, and he goes, oh no. And we get a little double team action from the villains. Like Rhino grabs him, he's like, come here, big mouth, and flings him across. And Electro kind of shocks him in the air and comes teleports above him kind of thing, like zoop.
Yeah.
And he flings him to the ground. He goes, okay, you guys do work pretty well together. All right. Okay. Oh, so can we just take a second to and just foot comes down. No time for talking, time for breaking. And Spider-Man's like, and Rhino pulls out a needle of some sorts, and he goes, now hold still, Spider. And he goes, whoa. And this is when things are starting to click. Like, what are you doing? He's like, need your blood. And he goes, no. He realizes something in his spider sense is making him don't let anyone have your blood. This is not good. Just Peter Parker is nervous about that. Spider-Man is nervous about that. And he is just, everything is going off in his spider sense. We're going to see kind of a serious, really quiet Spider-Man here for a second. Because that is terrifying to him. He's scared. Because one, they're kind of breaking him. He's losing again. And they're going to take his blood. They could figure out who he is. He thinks of May. We see an image of May. We see an image of Gwen. We see an image of Harry even. And Norman. Don't be scared of needles, Spider. It'll only hurt for a second. And Peter's pushes him off, and we kind of see him fighting and going toe to toe with him now. He is angry. No fight, no quips. And Rhino was on the defense now. Whoa.
Okay.
Nothing. And he goes, why you're so quiet? And flings him off, and Electro kind of tackles him. And I just imagine that Peter is really trying to ease him off, and finally he's kind of getting the groove back, feeling a little more confident, and he goes, sorry about that, kind of got nervous, needles really scare me. And he jumps onto Rhino's back at one point, and he goes, oh, these look important, and he grabs the bag and flings it off, and Rhino's like, no. and we see them kind of land the bag. It's not like a bag, but think of like an industrial giant made for Rhino backpack.
Yeah.
And it just, and we see some of the vials fall out, and he sees what it is, and he's like, what is going on? He goes, reptile serum? You're already a rhino. You don't need to become a reptile too. Like, that would be a terrible mix-up. Like a terrible
you trip over that tail.
Yeah, like it just won't work. Yeah. That combination does not suit you, boo-boo. Like, just all that like fun stuff. And he goes, it's not for me. And we see him like trying to save one, but they're all getting kind of breaking. Spider-Man's like, I don't care if these break. He's like, personally, I don't think anyone should have these. And we just see him shatter them. And Electro's like, no, we're not failing this. And like tackles him. He's webbing Max up, and Max is getting pissed. And finally, they're brought back into the facility. We see all these we see them kind of get flung into a chemical facility. And in chemical facilities, we have a lot of devices for electrical fires and chemical fires, all those sort of things.
Sprinkler systems,
like things to help with elemental type fires, not just fires. And Peter, being smart, looks around and he goes, oh, okay, I can make this work, and uses the chemicals to make a concoction to fling at Max, and Max it blows up on Max, cools him down to the point where he can't conduct anything, and Peter comes up finally after he's cooled down. He's like, what is this? I can't, and he's kind of stuck, and Peter just comes up, sorry, Max, and just kind of knocks him out. Mm-hmm. And he goes, you were a somebody to me. And just walks off. Like, that might seem like a white lie, but Spider-Man does love people.
Yeah, and that fits, I think.
Like, it just looks like a lie.
I think he should say, you were a somebody to me before he knocks him out.
And I think that works too. Either way. I can see it going either way, because he could be just screaming and he could knock him out, or he could like punch him and he's dazed. And before he passes out, he goes, I just want you to know you were someone to me. And he just passes out. Like, it's the last thing. Like, we see Max's view of Spider-Man. He's like, you were somebody, and goes to black when Max has passed out. And he goes, all right, one down. Now, where's the spider? Oh, gets flung again. He goes, I'm really getting sick of these games.
I don't like being a football.
And, how do you stop the Rhino? And that is just something he's nervous about, but he kind of realizes, like, well, that thing is on his skin and he's really durable, so what else in this facility do we got? And the thing about Rhino is if he overheats, he will pass out. And I imagine that he's like kind of reading maps and he goes, I got it. Like, and he's like, we see him kind of swinging, flying, dodging, and he goes looking at a map. We see him like stop looking at a map. Okay, you are here. Like that kind of like sort of cheesy stuff. Like, okay, if I'm here, okay, that's where I want to go. And he's like, come on, follow me, Rhino. It doesn't look like you're going anywhere. And finally, Rhino's like, gets to this one room. And again, it's dark, black. The flashes are from the like emergency, like red. And I've always imagined that red glare from the emergency, like that's the minimum you could get. And we just see like the lights are flashing, and every like light flash, like we see Rhino punch a wall while he's trying to get Spider-Man. And finally he like punches and Spider-Man's gone. He goes, Spider, where are you? Like all sing song. He's like, come out, I need to finish breaking you. Peter goes, you know what this room is for? It's of heat resistance. It's basically a big oven. And we see the door close and Spider-Man's on the other side. He's been talking to him in the intercom. He's like, hi. He goes, no. And it turns on and it starts heating up. And it like bay doors have closed and everything's closed. And Rhino is trying and it's getting hot. And we see him like, no.
And he's like punching and he's making the dents and then.
And like one hand goes through it. He's like, no. Please. It's so hot. Like he's like crying and it's just a lot. And Peter's like, just a little longer, Alexi. Just go to sleep. Just relax. Like, it's really kind of sad to watch. He's like, please. It's so hot. And he just, like, passes out. Like, these were not easy, like, fun wins. Mm-hmm. When you're defeating a big villain like this, it's going to take you, like, working real hard. But it's not
It's not easy on the mental health.
Yeah, it's not easy on him either. Spider-Man's realizing, like, do I have to... Is this what this is going to be like from now on? And we see, officers are coming in. We see that it is Ravencroft. We see that people from Ravencroft are here to help the officers move them. And we see Dr. Kafka. And I will say that it really bugged me because Dr. Kafka, in all the comics and TV shows that I've watched growing up, is a woman. And I was not happy when I saw this movie. I was like, wait, Dr. Kafka? And I checked way back then, and I rechecked when I watched this movie again. I was like, no, she's a psychiatrist that talks to all these villains at Ravencroft.
Mm-hmm.
She's not some person who's like, I'm going to shove you in the tube. And like, I did not like what they did with him or her, this character.
Yeah.
And this one, we see that she's going to come up later, but for now, Ravencroft employees are coming, and we see, like, Norman Osborn has appeared with Adrian Toomes. Like, they appeared because they're nervous about this is an Oscorp facility. That's later down the road, but we see Adrian Toomes is there, and while this is happening, he sees the one vial is saved in the backpack. Like, everyone's kind of, like, hustling, bustling, visiting with that, but he sees the backpack and quickly, like, looks inside and sees one vial at the bottom, and it's the one that Electro touched.
Mm-hmm. And
he takes it, and it's kind of faintly glowing, and he leaves with it, as well as we see that the needle had a little bit of Peter's blood.
Okay.
He did get some, just barely,
just a pinprick,
even like at the tip, just a little bit of it. And he goes, well, good job, boys. Good luck at Ravencroft. And drives off in like a little limo. His ex is taken away. And we see that Peter is kind of watching all this happening, and he's taking off his mask. He goes, okay, I need to take this stuff off. I got to change my suit back because it is stuffy. He's like, not breathable. Plastic is not. Rubber matting is not breathable. And we see that he actually has like shock holes, and we see the fabric's gone through. We see the rubber underneath. Like, it worked.
Yeah.
And I was tempted to say, like, oh, he made the Electro suit proof from the comics and other games, which is one of my favorite suits. Y'all should look it up if you haven't. But I was just like, you know what? I thought it would just be funny if he shows up looking like a little kid in a Spider-Man suit, like the fake puff up, and it looked good, but just enough to be like, oh, you juicing? Like, what's your deal? So anyway, he's like, all right, I gotta get this off of me. We see the news reporter is kind of reporting about how Spider-Man defeated the two villains, how they're going to Ravencroft, and how Dr. Ashley Kafka will be the one to firmly be the one to help them going through psychological training to bring them back. Rehabilitate. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And you would know that. You would know that word very well. So I'm like, no, I am not implying that Tim is in rehab.
I worked at a rehabilitation center for youth.
Yes,
that's why I would know.
And that's why. So, sorry. Yes, no, Tim is a struggling cocaine addict, and he's been in rehab. Anyway, no. But yes, rehabilitation. Dr. Kafka will be leading that. And we kind of see her, we kind of show her. I couldn't imagine who Dr. Kafka would be, because it's someone with, she's always been portrayed with black hair, and I just couldn't imagine anyone. So pick who you will, but that's who will be heading them and actually be working with them, and most of the comics and now most versions nowadays, she'll be an evil villain or whatever, but she wants to help. She actually wants to help these people. So we're introduced to Dr. Kafka, who in other movies of mine, I would have her be more important. So, but she's introduced near the end, and they'll be taken care of, and Spider-Man's all proud of himself. And we are shown to we're shown to
Norman.
And Norman is with Adrian, kind of at the penthouse. He goes, he says, could this not have waited? And he goes, sir, we received both. We got the blood, we got the sample, and Norman Osborn's like perfect, and he is like full on like goblin-y right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to the next day with Harry and Peter talking, and Harry's like, I'm really proud. I'm proud of you. How are you holding up? And he goes, and I really like that scene in the movie where he's like, that's the question.
And he climbs over.
And so I kind of want that kind of be like they're talking at like Oscorp, or they're at the penthouse and they're over the balcony, and Peter's like jokingly going over it, and he's like, no, wait. He goes, and he grabs him and goes, you can do this. I believe in you. You got this. You are Peter freaking Parker. You can do hard things. Like all this, like just encouraging him. And Peter's like, thank you.
You can do it.
You can do
it. Cat poster.
Yeah. I'm just hanging.
Just hang in there.
Just hang in there. And he's like, you're not helping. I know, but I'm being serious. You got this. He's like, well, thanks, Harry. And he goes, well, I know this is hard to say at the moment, but I will actually be traveling again. My dad's planning on doing one more study. He wants to see where I studied abroad, so we're planning on going on a trip here soon. So before I go, we need to go I wanted to go treat you some food. He goes, oh, awesome. And we see them kind of going down and chilling, and it's chilling like villains. We're absolutely fine. We see Gwen kind of packing up and getting ready, hugging her family, all excited. It's fine. It's great. Whatever. Kind of like interaction with her mom. I don't know. Just she's getting ready for it. We're having Peter, Harry, Gwen. We're all seeing them kind of being normalized. And now we're going to take a dark turn. Kind of. So,
Okay.
because it's kind of like, this is a prologue, we're kind of seeing it build up to the leaving of Gwen. Spoilers. So we see Norman is desperate at this point. Norman is with Toombs, Osborn, and they are like, are you sure about this? He goes, and he lifts up his arm. He goes, I have nothing left to worry about. This is it, or I'm done. Mm-hmm. Like, he's hideous, and he's changed. He doesn't look good. And, they've like, all right, we have taken both components of the blood. We have taken components of the serum, and we have fused it together, and we hope that this will work with your genetic code, blah, blah, blah. And the hopes is to, because it's the best of what Dr. Richard Parker and Dr. Connors were doing, and hopefully their work together will heal Norman Osborn. Two of the best minds of Oscorp working together to heal Norman. And so we see him get injected, and I'm not going to do like, oh, it's going to be a big old thing. They're like, all right, Mr. Osborn, let's take you home to rest, and that will be it. And we see like kind of cutting to, we're gonna get a mirrored thing of when all the Peters get bit, they kind of go to bed and kind of have like a we're gonna get that with Norman.
Okay.
And
okay, makes sense.
So we have Norman in bed, and he's like, nah, nah, and we see the claws grow. We see the skin grow for a second. Everything's happening. We see bed is being torn, and he's getting bigger, and he's just yelling and screaming. And Harry is getting home from lunch at this time, because this is just like a decent nap. Like, he did not feel good, and Norman's been resting more because he's sick. And Harry's like, Dad, and he hears the yelling, Dad, what's going on, Dad? And like, he gets to the door, and he opens it, and Norman Osborn walks out, completely normal, stiff upright. Harry. And he picks Harry up in a big hug, and he's like, Dad? He goes, what's wrong? Nothing, Harry. Nothing. We did it. No, I'm sorry. He's like, nothing, not nothing, Harry. We did it. We found a cure. They did it. We will be healed. We are going to be okay. And Harry's like, we? He goes, I should have warned you, son. This was never just a simple thing. This was the Osborn curse. I kept it from you as long as I could. I promised your mother I'd keep it quiet from you. But it was genetic. But we have a cure. And when you start showing symptoms, if you do, we will imply it into you. And Harry's just crying. You know, this is a good day for the Osborn family. And they're just happy, they're smiling. And we kind of see like, and this might be cheesy, but in the reflection of the bedroom, after we see all the torn up bed, we see a reflection in a big mirror. We see this horrible goblin monster with his hand over his son's shoulder.
Okay. Kind of, yeah, that's kind of cliche, but I like it.
It's a little cliche, but
I like it. It works.
Yeah, so the goblin is still around, but it's going to be like in one version of Green Goblin, he literally can turn into, you know, the one in Spiderman Into the Spider-Verse at the beginning?
Yes.
That is very accurate to one version. Norman can turn into, it's basically like a Hulk, except he could turn to it on demand. So the goblin isn't gone. It's just made him healed. That's what I imagine. I just really wanted to have that scene of Harry running. He's hearing all the yelling, bursts through the door, and Norman reaches him so he doesn't see the bedroom, and he looks completely normal. I wanted that scene. That is one of the scenes I imagined in my head. And I was like, oh. And he goes, now, how should we celebrate? He goes, well, we were planning on that trip to see your college, and now I think I'm going to enjoy it a little bit more. And we cut to Gwen appearing to the Parkers at their home, and she's like, I just want to say goodbye here. This will be the easiest for both. She goes, I don't want anyone else watching me as I leave today. And Peter's like, no, I'll never do that. That's a lie. He's going to definitely do it.
Yeah.
And he's saying goodbye. She's saying goodbye to May. And May hugs her tight. And Gwen's like, good luck with nursing. And May is like, good luck at Oxford. I'm so proud of you, sweetie. And she whispers, and he's going to be okay. I promise. And we see Peter and Gwen kind of give a final hug, and he's like, well, can't do a kiss. That would ruin this, wouldn't it? And she goes, yeah, it would. And he goes, I'm not doing a handshake. And so they just do another big hug. And he goes, I love you so much. She's like, I love you too. And she's like, okay. And she's like, kind of pushes, like, I gotta go. I need to do it. And gets in the taxi, drives off, and Peter's just like, dang. And now we see Gwen, we have some beautiful music, probably some cheesy song going in the background, and Gwen's watching all the New York sights as she's getting to the airport. And as she arrives to the airport, someone approaches her. Miss Stacy? She's like, yes, if you would please follow me. The Osborns have requested that you come with me. She goes, what? And sure enough, she gets led. And Harry and his father are waiting at a private jet. And he goes, well, I heard you were heading out today. And don't worry, we'll reimburse you for your ticket. But we'd love for you to join us. And my dad perfectly agrees. I was, Miss Stacy, I've heard so much about you from my son and Mr. Parker. And he goes, and we'd be honored if you would fly with us. And Gwen and Harry kind of do a little smile at each other. And he goes, this is going to be a fun trip. And it'll be fun to get to know you a little more. And Gwen and Harry are like, yeah, this will be nice. And they kind of all go in the plane and they fly off. And poor Peter, though, is looking for Gwen and can't find her at the airport. And now we kind of cut away to, and I know that's kind of ending on a sour note, but yeah, it's kind of what
I mean, you're literally setting it up right, perfect for a third movie,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of the point, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking 4.
4.
4.
Okay.
And so we see Alexei is inside his facility, and Dr. Kafka. Thank you so much, Tim. This is why I have you. Dr. Kafka is like talking to him and says thank you and sees her way out. And he's just, they had a little discussion, and I know I'm rushing now, but we've way gone over time. And because there's one more, this is the ending of the movie. There's a mid-credit scene. So we see doors open again, and Felicia Hardy walks up, and she goes, well, when I asked you to do that job for me, I did not expect that you'd end up here. And he goes, you are Black Cat? She goes, yeah, I am. And don't worry, I have a feeling we're going to be working with each other a lot more. So there you go. Revealed she's the Black Cat, and that's kind of the just ending. And then and I really wanted to, and I know it's cheesy, but we end with a meow.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it works.
It works. So now we get the intro and the mid-credit scene, and we get to the mid-credit scene, and this is the one I've been excited to share with everyone. We see a young man come up to, a hospital bed, and, he goes forward and he goes, now, son, you listen to me. When your father died, before your father died and he ran away with your mom and those Parkers, he promised me I would destroy all of his work. And the young man just sits there and he goes, I know. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, Oscorp is to blame for you and Peter's becoming orphans. It is their fault that you two lost your parents. And he sits there and he goes, and like an old hand kind of rests on him, on his hands. And like he's kind of looking like he has something in his hands. Mm-hmm. And he goes, Eddie, listen to me. Your father was so proud of you and loved you so much. And this work will help you so much. And he goes, what do you mean? I saved one sample of the suit he was making. And he lifts his hand, and we see a little vial with this little black liquid.
Mm-hmm. You said Eddie, and immediately I was like,
Eddie Carl Brock Jr. Eddie Carl Brock Sr. was a renowned scientist that worked along Richard Parker. And we kind of see like a picture zoom. We see like him we see that, the beeping kind of goes off and passes away. And we see that, this would have been a sick bed that he had been on for a while. And I'm going to say sick bed, not a hospital bed. He was kind of on hospice. And he like handed to him, and Eddie's kind of like crying because now his last family member is dead. And he's holding the little goo, and we see that the goo like shifts, like he holds the vial, and we see the vial like shift towards Eddie's face in the vial. Mm-hmm. And then as he zoom away from Eddie looking into the vial, we see a picture in Eddie's household of Richard Parker and Eddie Carl Brock Sr. like working with Oscorp, like them shaking hands with him. And that's like a framed picture they had, and that's the end of the movie.
Okay. I like it. I was wondering, like, what you were gonna do with the whole Carl thing and what you were doing with that. That makes that's good. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, no, in the comics, Brock and Parker are the ones that made the symbiote suit. So I'm excited to do the third movie. So that'll have to be a later time. Because for now, though, this is technically just a second movie. And that was how I would have done it. Because that's what they kind of were hinting at briefly. But that's how I would have done it. So I hope you all like that.
That was good. No, that was a good pitch. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Gwen didn't die.
Gwen didn't die. That makes me happy.
I hope you're not mad at me trying to... I hope you're not... Because I am kind of shipping Harry and Gwen briefly.
I mean...
Oh. That's... I'm not saying they were together, but that was the blossoms of the...
Yeah.
We'll see. We don't know, and I probably should stop talking because that's for later pitches. But yeah, that's my take on Spider-Man. And sorry that the first part was so short, and this one was long. Dang.
Zach will be happy.
Zach will be happy. But next week, I believe I hope we can try to go back to just doing one apiece, or very soon. I will hopefully soon. I'm thinking in August, because we've had a lot of friends and family go, when can we have guests? I think August will, I'm thinking at least.
I mean, it is August.
I mean, September, sorry. September, having discussions with guests. Not pitches, but more of discussions about movies and what they would do better. So, yeah, we'll see that down the road. So,
Cool.
Well, any final thoughts? Anything final to say?
No, I liked your pitch. I thought it was good. Solid pitch. Very, very classic Spider-Man adventure. I liked it.
I hope it felt like Spider-Man. I really did. And and it was funny because even some of the things I said in your reactions, I went, oh, dang, I didn't even realize how... It makes me happy because it makes me realize that I am a pretty big Spider-Man fan. So, yeah. Well, thank you for listening, Tim.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving us your pitch, Willem.
Okay. Well, everyone, we will see you next week, and Tim will be leading us. Any idea?
We will just have to see.
Oh,
I'm not 100% sure.
We will someday get a schedule out. Actually, no, I like surprising them.
I like the surprise.
Yeah, you guys, just deal with it.
We'll
Get
have
the
a
surprise.
list. We'll have a list between me and you, but we'll surprise.
We'll surprise them.
Yeah.
If we do guests, just surprise.
Just a surprise.
Just surprise. We'll someday have a good schedule so that we can plan, especially if we'll see what these next couple of months bring, but hopefully we'll all be good.
If we can get Mark Hamill to come in and listen to my pitch for
Tim,
Star Wars episode 8.
I don't think you'd even be able to focus if Mark Hamill was in here.
I would not.
Even if it was on like a Skype call, or not Skype, Skype's dead, Zoom call, you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's freaking Mark Hamill.
No, I would not be able to focus, and I don't think my dad would be able to focus on
your dad
the
would probably
podcast.
demand he would be there. The thing is, you would freak out because he's Luke. I would freak out because that's one of the best voice actors ever. He's inspired me so much.
He is a fantastic voice actor. He's Luke Skywalker. He is
Joker.
He's the Joker. He's the trickster.
The Fire Lord.
Fire Lord Ozai.
It's so many. It's Swamp. There's so many. I could just go on. Well, anyway. Well, with that being said, I think we'll see you next week. And you all be safe, be good, and we will see you later, pitches.